From my edit bench, I have two four-wheel drive videos that have been recently posted that are stand apart outstanding. Now, one of them is mine, but the other one is not. The one that's mine is outstanding because, well, it's an opportunity for you. I'm going to be cynical here. For you guys who know all about off-road and 4x4, especially recovery, to have a go and criticize me for this attempt at recovery. But the other one, there's a lot of recovery in that other one. And it is one of the best 4x4 adventure films published in the last 3 or 4 years. It is outstanding. I'm Andrew St Pierre White, explorer, overlander and broadcaster with over 40 years driving 4x4s. In association with Egon, game-changing simplicity. Now my work, I think my work culminated in Friends Cross the Canning. It was the best thing I'd ever produced. It was humorous, funny, real friendship, absolutely authentic, just pure four-wheel drive adventure fun. This other one by 4WD 24/7, and the idea was, I think, brilliant, not unlike our Friends Cross the Canning, but done in a completely different way. But they decided to take two old cronks. They took a Pajero, second gen Pajero, which I thought was a very good vehicle, and the second gen Prado, the 90, which again, I thought for its time, very good vehicle, for dual purpose station wagons. Both very similar and very good, well made and cheap as chips. And they took them across the Simpson, except and they had a good support crew, like we did with Canning, with the Range Rover, right? They had a good support crew. But unlike Canning, it started raining. And it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained. Now, I want to just give my tuppence worth with regard to that particular video. It's quite long. It's well over an hour long, and it had me on the edge of my seat. I want to start by a shout out to the editor. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for not ruining the story by using rock music. Because to me, it's the first... If I watch a 4x4 video and I hear... I turn off instantly. Because it is so inappropriate and so unnecessary to overplay the macho-ness of four-wheel drive. It's bullshit, all right? The editor, you did a great job. I consider myself a good editor. You did a great job. You had me on the edge of my seat. You used music that was appropriate. You had tension building. You had the guys coming in. But here's the thing. They got themselves into real trouble. They had to get out of the desert. And they were... Man, did they struggle. And it was like a Russian doll. They would drive over the dune, and every minute of every day, and this wasn't contrived. I've been to these places. This was not contrived. Every day they come over a dune, and they go, holy crap, there's another floodplain we've got to cross. Getting over the dunes when it's wet, actually the rain makes it a little bit firmer, so it's a little bit easier. It changes things. It's still not that easy, but it changes things. But the floodplains, they just become a bog, and the vehicles sink. Now, I again want to shout out congratulations to the crew. There was a shot, for example, and they got the guys driving and support crew and everything to hold cameras. There's a shot of vehicles coming through the floodplains and really struggling. Okay, so they're really, really focused on getting these cars through. Meanwhile, they've got, including the camera crew, they've also got a car that they've got to get through. I think you guys, viewers, often forget that the background story to creating a story like this. There was a drone in the air. Now, I know flying a drone is quite challenging, okay? And it was pouring with rain. So you've got somebody operating a drone. You've got somebody operating the main camera, getting shots of the cars coming across the floodplain. And you've got one of the guys standing with a stick with a GoPro on the end of it, pointing it at the cameras coming through the water. 3 cameras. While all that shit was going down, they still had those cameras rolling. Now, I think the hero of the show in terms of the vehicle, there were 2 vehicles that I thought shone. Apart from the 2 old Kronks that, sorry, spoiler, I'll cut that out. The 2 old Kronks were brilliant. They both gave problems, but they were brilliant. The hero of the show? Undoubtedly, that Prado 250. I think the guy really knew how to drive it because it was getting through the bogs where the other guys were bogging down. Maybe it was lighter, I don't know. And the Nissan Patrol, the camera vehicle, it was an old vehicle. And it was getting through a lot, it appeared, a little easier than some of the other vehicles. The vehicle that to me stood out as the worst, what do I mean by worst? The vehicle that struggled the most was the 79. Because I think all 70 series Land Cruisers suffer from one flaw, and it's a big one. It's a big deal. Weight distribution. The reason why the station wagons, I think, do a little bit better is because they have better weight distribution, and that's a big deal. And you'll see, I'm going to quickly go back to, you'll see the screen behind me here shows my Africa-built troop carrier. You can see the back wheels are well dug in, while the front wheels are not dug in at all. Suffering from major weight distribution issues. It's the weight distribution problem that got me stuck here. Now, all 70 series, particularly 79s and 78s, okay, less 76. 76 is better off-road than the 79 and 8 because of this. You see the aerial shots of it getting through, and this back is swinging around like a pendulum. And that was a single cab. So it had lots of power from that V8, okay? It sounded as if it did have no shortage of power. It sounded like it had been tweaked, different exhaust, etc. So it sounded fantastic. But it didn't do better. Now, was it heavier than the other vehicles? Almost surely heavier than the other vehicles. Was it easier to camp with than the other vehicles? Maybe a little bit, but you couldn't get into it like you can in a troopy. So it's not, there's no major advantage with a ute. There is a minor advantage, but not a major advantage. But the off-road ability of a station wagon, that you're paying for that with a ute because of that thing called weight distribution that the station wagons did so well. And if you looked at that 150 Prado, it walked it because arguably it was the lightest, or certainly its weight was distributed more equally. I'm just theorizing here, but it did brilliantly, as did the Prado and the Pajero. Were they better performers than, say, the 79 crossing the bogs? I don't think they were. They had smaller wheels, and they were old things with far less clearance than that 79. And yet the 79 appeared to bog. Why did that 79 lose that front CV joint? Now, here's another, I'm theorizing. Land Cruiser 79s are built really strongly. They've got solid axles. They're very strongly built cars. Why did it break its CV joint? None of the others, including those old Kronks, broke major transmission components, except I think the Prado 90 did towards the end, but no spoilers. And I question Are we living in a fool's paradise when we think the 79 is such a magical vehicle? Look, don't get me wrong. Now, the Troopy is fantastic because it is a great off-road vehicle, and you can live in and out of it, and you know why I love the Troopy so much. But off-road, now, and I looked at those guys crossing the desert, and I'll wrap this up with them, and then I'll get on to my experience with my troop carrier getting stuck. I was leaning back watching them crossing the desert, and I was thinking, yeah, I can promise you, if I had my Troopy there, man, I would be stuck up to my eyeballs because of this thing called weight distribution. And my Africa troop carrier is quite a lot heavier than my Australian troop carrier, and I'm about to start a phase 2 of my Australian troop carrier. And of course the thing is that as you do more and more and more to these vehicles, they get heavier and heavier and heavier. And if we've got 70 series Land Cruisers, particularly 79 and 78s, that weight, where does it end up? On the back axle, which degrades off-road performance. All right, so you guys crossing the Simpson, man, thumbs up to you, the crew that filmed it, the way it was filmed, the way it was edited, best ever. And the fact that you pushed and you pushed and you pushed and you pushed and you didn't, it's not hyped, it was real, and it was brilliant. So in the description of this video is a link to that video and a link to my video. Now and I'm going to talk about my video and the performance of my troop carrier in Africa. I went onto the Pans, and it's on my other channel. Okay, so that's where my travel stuff is. My four-wheel drive stuff is pure four-wheel drive is on this channel. For those of you still confused, and my travel expeditions on the other channel. Okay, that's as simple as that. No more complicated than that. So, in this adventure, I spent some time on my favorite place. It's a huge salt pan in the middle of Botswana, and it's absolutely remote. But the mud there, and I tell some stories on that video, some really nice anecdotes about getting bogged in this stuff, and it is the most hideous mud. And vehicles have been lost on those pans. They literally sink and vanish. Okay, it's happened. So I got stuck, but the day before I was all on my lonesome and heard a vehicle and looked out, and it was the Botswana Defence Force. And they came to visit me. Now, I didn't film them while they were around me. That would be bad manners. But they said, hello, we saw your tracks. Now, what they're doing in the area is they patrol the area for poachers. Botswana has an extremely effective anti-poaching system using its defence force. And I've had interactions with the Botswana Defence Force on several occasions, and it has always been excellent. I'm never fearful. They're always polite. What are you doing here? And I said, I just love this place, and I love the emptiness and the space. And he looked at me and he said, gives you time to think? I said, yes. You got it in one. And he asked a little bit about the vehicle, and he said, you're not going to go to Kokonya. I was trying to get to an island, and I didn't even try because of the wet. Everything was wet. And I said, no. And he said to me, yeah, you haven't got a hope. You haven't got a hope, he said. And then he volunteered, because the Botswana Defence Force used to use defenders. Obviously, the proper defender, not the stupid thing that they make now. And he said, with a defender, maybe I'll get across with the defender. This? No. He said, you're too heavy. And he wasn't talking about the overall weight, because the overall weight with a fully loaded defender and a fully loaded troopy, the overall weight is not that different, not significantly different. All right, but the weight distribution is significantly different. Now, I got stuck because of this shortfall with troopies in general, and specifically my Africa troopie, which is very, very heavy on the back. And when I bogged down, I kind of cursed myself for being stupid because I actually took a stupid route. There I am now. And if I look around, the white pebbles, drive on the white pebbles, they're good. So this is dark colour. Why did I drive onto this dark colour? Why did I do that? Because I was overconfident. You see that area there, that dark area there? That's also soft. I should have gone from grass to 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 grass. All it takes is a short stretch. And the fact is that as I came this way now, I saw my old track and thought to myself, oh, why did I move towards the pan? It's always softer, closer to the pan. Why did I do that? Not through lack of experience, it's through stupidity. And then there's a nice piece of, and I wanted to mention this video because it's some of the best stuff that I've done. It's the best video, 4x4, pure 4x4 video, adventure video that I have done since canning stock root, which was 2022. So this is the best thing I've done. I will put the link in the description, and you can shuttle forward to the piece if you feel like just watching that piece. The video is an hour and a bit long. Go forward to that piece where I am completely on my own, and I got quite badly bogged on a salt pan. It took me 4 hours being alone. Again, I had rain. Nothing like you guys in 4WD 24/7. Nothing like that. Okay. I wasn't in danger of not being able to get out of that area for weeks or months like you were. But I was on my own. So I was trying to film it, and I needed to try and get the car out. Rescue was not an easy thing. It would have been days, and it would have cost me several $1,000s. And I did think about it while sitting in the car while relaxing. I was still stuck, but I had to moderate how much effort I was putting into it. I didn't want to exhaust myself, make sure I was drinking lots of water, and then no spoilers, but it's worth watching. That's my little contribution for today. Go and check out those two videos. But with both of them, get yourself a good cup of coffee or a cup of soup and just sit down and watch them. They're both quite long form, but they are so worth it. Until next time, thanks for watching. I built this vehicle myself, did almost all of the work, including the wiring and the plumbing. I have used 3 Egon game-changing simplicity products in this build. I'm going to highlight one right now. It's called the Egon DC Hub. All my batteries, there are 1 in the dashboard, 2 at the back, go to 1 unit. I have 3 chargers, a solar, DC, but 2 of them. And they go via the Egon DC Hub Dual. DC Hub is basically one place where everything is wired. If you're struggling to figure out the wiring of a build, the Egon DC Hub does all of the difficult stuff for you. It's like paint by numbers. You just run the cable to the place on the DC Hub according to in-depth instructions, and you simply wire it according to those instructions, and I guarantee you it will work first time, every time. Not only that, if you have a blown fuse, the little LED light comes on in the DC Hub, so fault diagnostic becomes an absolute breeze. Honestly, if you want to simplify your build, it's game-changing simplicity. The Egon DC Hub is a revolutionary product, and there is nothing like it, dare I say it, in the world.